Everyone has asked the same question in their lives. How do you actually become rich? There's a famous book that tries to answer this question. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was a book that came out in the year 2000 and was sold absurdly well. I recently finished reading this book, and like a lot of people, it completely changed how I viewed money. Of course, no one becomes rich just by reading a single book. The book doesn't magically make you rich, it explains how people become rich. No matter how people feel about money, money has always been something very important in our lives, so we should be brave enough to learn about it. The book basically tells Robert Kiyosaki's own story. It all started when Robert Kiyosaki was young. His family wasn't well off, which meant his father was the poor dad in the title. He had a friend named Mike, whose father was the owner of a chain grocery business also known as the rich dad in the title. He noticed from a young age that the lessons these two fathers taught their kids are completely different. These lessons would heavily influence a person's future. In this book, the two fathers represent two completely opposite types of people. Poor dad is the kind of person we usually consider very outstanding, good at studying, good grades, got into a great university, then became a civil servant after graduating. Stable work that everyone admires. Over the next 10 years, he worked very hard and kept getting promoted, eventually even becoming Hawaii's superintendent of education. But later, because he had some conflicts with his superiors, he had to resign in middle age, and after that, life was no longer comfortable. Rich Dad was the complete opposite. He was not good at school, entered society at an early age, but in the end he became a wealthy man. From childhood, the poor dad told his child, "Study hard, get into a good university, become a civil servant after graduation, and you'll have a worry-free life." I think many parents have said things like this to their kids, right? But what the rich dad told his child was the complete opposite. Don't chase stability, and don't chase a job. The only thing you need to chase is opportunity. If you want to become rich, you can't think the same way as ordinary people. So which father was right? Obviously one is the poor dad, and the other is the rich dad. So of course the rich dad was right. By combining the rich dad's teachings with his own practice, the author came to one conclusion. The only way to become rich is by investing. What is investing? Investing is the process of continuously turning your money into assets. What is an asset? An asset is something that helps you make money, also known as positive cash flow. A liability, on the other hand, is something that makes you spend money. One of the best examples of liability is your car, as you spend money to buy it and spend money to maintain it. Consumptions, on the other hand, are neither an asset nor a liability, since once you consume it, it's gone. The author believes that most people spend almost all of their money on consumptions, or they buy a bunch of liabilities that they think are assets. Very few people actually manage to buy real assets. In other words, you're constantly turning the money you worked hard for into trash. Of course, this is an extreme way of putting it, as some consumption is necessary and some unnecessary purchases can bring joy, satisfaction, and intangible value to your life. But it is the harsh truth when viewed from a financial perspective. Now, there is one item that is debatable between assets and liabilities, which is real estate. Real estate is a very complicated thing. If you take out a loan to buy a house to live in, it's a liability. If you buy it outright and rent it out at a good price and it keeps earning money, then it's an asset. If the property keeps appreciating and in the end you can pay off the loan and still make a lot of profit, then it's also an asset. But if we don't consider future value, then a house that doesn't make you money right now is a liability. You can use these definitions of assets and liabilities to evaluate everything around you. Take a look at the things you own. Which ones are assets and which ones are liabilities? One of the core conclusions of the book the author gave is that if you want to become wealthy, you must hold on to as many assets as possible while minimizing your liabilities. So how do you actually do that? The author provides 6 key points. First, increase your income. To buy assets, you first need to have some money. It doesn't have to be enough to buy a house. Even a small amount will do. Second, cut unnecessary spending. This means cutting out unnecessary waste. Money isn't easy to earn, so don't spend it recklessly. Every penny you save is money that can be used for investment. Third, be willing to try and take risks. If you just put all your money in the bank, you will never become rich. Of course, taking risks doesn't mean suicide. You must be wise in managing the risks. Fourth, quit your job and start a business. You can never become rich by relying on wages because wages have a ceiling limit. Fifth, minimize taxes as much as possible. Taxes are one of the biggest obstacles for ordinary people to become rich. Theoretically, if your salary is high enough and you accumulate enough over time, you should be able to become rich. But the reality is, no matter how high your salary is, you won't become truly wealthy because of taxes. What people might not realize is that the tax system for the rich is different from that for ordinary people because their types of income are different. There are generally 3 types of income. The first type is active income. This is money you earn by working, also known as your salary. If you stop working, the money stops coming in. The second type is capital gains. This is income generated through the trading of assets, like profit from buying and selling stocks or real estate. This is investment income and is a form of passive income. The third type is cash flow. This is when money keeps flowing in without you having to do anything at all. Examples include rental income, interest, and dividends, which are the gold standard for passive income. Most ordinary people rely on their salary to get by, while the wealthy generally rely on the latter two, capital gains and cash flow. In most countries, the tax rate for passive income is far lower than the tax on your salary. In some countries, there is even zero tax on passive income, which is why many wealthy people don't need to pay much in taxes. Meanwhile, the earned income of the working class is subject to a progressive tax system in most nations. The country with the highest personal income tax in the world is Denmark, where the top rate exceeds 60%. In Asia, the highest is Japan at 55%. It's crazy how the rich pay almost nothing, while ordinary people might see half of their income go to taxes. According to the author, the people in this world are divided into 4 categories. The first category is the employee, someone who is hired and receives a salary. The second is the specialist. These are people who work for themselves and get paid per task. For example, a lawyer takes on a case and earns money from that specific case. Others include accountants or freelance designers, basically anyone who is self-employed. The third type refers to those who hire others to make money for them, what we usually call business owners or operators. The fourth type is the investor, those who use money to make more money. Every person in this world who earns money belongs to one of these 4 categories. However, our schools and our education system only train 2 types, employees and specialists. Employees and specialists use their own labour and time to make money, and since labour and time are inherently limited, their income has a ceiling. If you want an income with no upper limit, only business owners and investors can achieve that. That's why only they have the potential to become the truly wealthy. Some might think, well, professionals like doctors and lawyers seem pretty rich. They drive luxury cars and live in mansions. But having a high salary and being wealthy are on completely different levels. No matter how high your salary is, you are still part of the working class. The author isn't saying there's anything wrong with being working class. He just wants everyone to understand that being wealthy and having a high salary are 2 entirely different concepts. Since schools don't train people to be wealthy, they have no need to teach us about taxes, assets, or passive income. You aren't expected to know these things. Of course, we can't entirely blame the schools, since there are 2 paths to learning as we grow up: school and home. If the school doesn't teach it, the family can. But unfortunately, most of our fathers are the poor dads who don't know these things either. But things are at least better now, since you're basically watching this video right now. Now, the 6th point is crucial. You must learn how to manage your assets and liabilities. This means you need to spend a significant amount of time acquiring financial literacy. If you don't understand the mechanics of finance, you will never become a mega tycoon. In fact, this is precisely why 99% of the people who read this book still haven't become rich, because they just finished the book and stopped there, without continuing to study actual financial knowledge. This book essentially reveals a reality where everyone in the world is running on this wealth marathon. The ones in the front are the rich, and the ones behind are the poor. The gap between those at the front and those at the back has become so vast that the people in front are no longer even in sight. So how can we possibly catch up and become wealthy? Is it even possible? This book exists to tell you the truth that cars actually exist in this marathon. The reason you can't even see the people in front of you is that they are all driving, while you are back there running on foot. You're never catching up that way. So the only way to catch up is for you to also get in a car. You need to drive a better, faster car than them. But here's the sad part. Even if someone gave you a car right now, you wouldn't know how to drive it. Schools never taught you how to drive. Your parents don't know how, and as a result, neither do you. The people ahead of you aren't going to drive back to teach you either, so you have to spend your own time researching on how to drive. Only after that can you accelerate and head to the front. Of course, whether you actually catch on to them depends on your own talent and luck. The scariest thing is when someone gets a car and thinks, now that I have this, I can catch up. Without ever learning how to drive, they slam their foot on the gas, and 80% of the time, they just slam into a wall and die financially. That's why you must first slow down and study hard. Now, is it better to be an entrepreneur or an investor? This is actually a major point of debate in the book. Robert Kiyosaki tends to lean toward everyone becoming an investor, but he puts investor at the very end of the list because it is actually the most difficult one. Robert Kiyosaki says there are 7 levels of investors. Level 1, the have-nothing investors. Actually, they aren't really investors at all. They spend all their money on liabilities and consumption, thinking those liabilities are investments. He says half the people in the world fall into this category. Level 2, the borrower investors. These people don't have much money but dream of making a fortune instantly. To make big money, they borrow big capital, which is terrifying. As the risk is so high, it's basically gambling, which meant they aren't true investors either, just gamblers. Level 3, the saver investors. These people save every penny just to collect interest. While it's stable, they aren't really investors, because interest rates can never keep up with the speed of inflation. In the end, they are still losing money. It's only at level 4 that you truly enter the realm of investing. Level 4, the smart investors. These people are usually highly educated and have a strong awareness of investing. However, their research into specific fields isn't very deep. They don't know much about taxes, law, company operations, or how to read a financial statement. They just think, this looks good, I'll buy some, or that looks good, I'll buy that. Anyway, he says these smart investors are divided into 3 types. The don't bother me type. They just invest in whatever they feel like. They tell experts, don't talk to me, it's useless, I'm not listening. This type also includes people who just hand all their money over to an expert and then completely ignore it. The cynic type. These people seem to understand investing perfectly and can talk your ear off about it, but they never actually invest. The gambler type. They believe investing is just gambling. They're willing to try anything. The higher the risk, the more they want in, usually for no real logical reason. Level 5, the long-term investors. These are your standard real investors. They possess professional knowledge and generally have long-term investment plans. They use small-scale investments to continuously learn about the market and how to invest. And they are humble enough to listen to expert advice. He says most millionaires are at this level. Actually, up to the 5th level, these are all considered external investors. This means you are investing in other people's companies. Even though you've done your research, you don't have an intimate understanding of the internal operations. You are just a player in the open market. The next 2 levels, however, are internal investors, as they represent the highest tiers. Level 6, the mature, sophisticated investors. They are wealthier than long-term investors and deal in much larger volumes. They almost never diversify their investments. The reason they dare to pour massive amounts of capital into a single field or a specific enterprise is that they are experts in that field or that specific company. Warren Buffett belongs to this category. In fact, the gap between the 5th and 6th levels is the watershed between regular wealthy and truly wealthy. Their biggest difference is whether or not they are willing to take risks. Level 5 investors are more cautious and tend to make smaller diversified investments, but level 6 investors are at a stage where they can actually move the market. Level 7, the capitalists. Only a few people in the world ever reach this realm. They are essentially on the opposite end of the investment spectrum. What does that mean? They create a company, issue shares, and sell those shares to you. In reality, you are the one investing in them. They are the ones receiving the investment. They make money by leveraging other people's time, other people's money, and other people's brains. This is the ultimate peak of investing. The highest level of investing is being the one who is invested in. Once you reach this level, you can become a billionaire. So we've talked a lot today about money and the wealthy. We've discussed this before, that money is essentially a reflection of credit and trust. In modern society, only those with true credit can earn money. So the more you can earn, the more it proves you are a person of credit. Of course, as we've said, being rich doesn't necessarily mean being happy, but it does give you a sense of freedom when you don't have to worry about next month's rent and etc. Alright, my name is Kino. See you next time.